Let's go through how we can do smart manufacturing. What are the opportunities there? What are the challenges there? And how to be yourself in current situations, not only in from the pandemic kind of situations perspective, but also in overall, how to keep yourself motivated and keep your confidence high. That's what we will talk about in next 35 minutes kind of, and then we'll have a question and answer session, I guess. Okay, so this is one of the usual slides again I use for all my public appearances. This is a disclaimer slide, very important one for me because I'm still part of an organization. There may be some dialogues, some names, some OEMs, some examples which I'll use in next 45 minutes, which may or may not be under a caveats of NDA. So kindly bear that slack with me, and hope to keep those examples. If in case I take certain names, keep it to yourself, and no one comes on me directly with the guns on their head. So thank you for understanding. So first thing, in any smart manufacturing process of parameters, what do we want to do? What do we want to achieve is a basic objective level information collection process. That's what every and any organization, including our own organization, goes through that process. When it comes to the IT department is always going to be a service department inside the organization, like manufacturing organizations. Typically, it's the same case with HR, it's the same case with finance. So these three departments always are going to be in a serving state to the manufacturing domains. But for IT, the difference that we all would like to bring into the picture is from the two sides. One is at the technology side, and the second one is from the sustainability perspective. When I talk about technology, I mean how, what, and which technology you want to use. All the W questions. Which technology? What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? Is that technology going to be useful for us? What's the ROI associated with that? With all these W questions answered, we determine on what technology is useful. Whether it's, for example, if we talk about our warehouse management system, when we talk about the warehouse management system, is which barcode system is going to be helpful for us. If we talk about dispatch mechanisms or invoicing mechanisms, which dispatch application is useful, whether it will be from any customized ERP or whether it will be from ERPs, established ERPs like SAP, QAD, or whether it's FES, whichever ERP that we use, which tool, which mechanism is going to be helpful. And not only helpful, is that solution that we are talking about for that particular model is sustainable to the organization. When we talk about the WIP, that's work in progress area, most important parameter is sustainability, because when we talk about IoTs, IIoTs, or any process improvement suggestions over at WIP, which is where we have a stamp gap driven process, means from one workstation to another workstation, how much time do I invest or waste in making sure my product supply chain in a work in progress area goes through a proper quality processes and station by station analysis. So when we talk about the adaptation of the technology, there are always 7 steps which are involved into. First is, while analysis of the technology, I need to convince my business leaders. So if I have to convince my business leaders, I will require to translate my technical language into a business language. For example, if I want to take forward a solution like what CyberFrat provides, how is it helpful? Rather than how is it helpful to convince my business leaders, I will have to translate that into a business language to make them understand what is it for them in it. For example, when we talk about a cybersecurity solution, we talk about threats, we talk about vulnerabilities. But for business, it's not about threats, it's not about vulnerability. It is all about how much is going to be invested in it and what is it that we are going to take out of it. For example, if we talk about vulnerability, how much a vulnerability can cost to the organization. That's the business language. Now, when I talk about business language, I also produce something. If I produce something, I have to sell something. If I'm selling it, that means I need to make sure my customer is convinced about it. For customer, we have to translate my business language into customer language. So when we talk about customer, for customer, how much I'm going to pay for it? What is the use? What is it used for? For example, if I produce my like Adient, I produce car seats. So my customer will ask how much it's going to cost me. Whatever solutions, tools that you have deployed, are they going to be useful for me? So yes, so for customers, we'll have to use a quality parameter check kind of processes, because customer will talk about quality, cost, and conscious. How is it going to be? Now, when I have a customer onboarded with me, I have to translate that customer language to my invoicing language. For example, when I onboard a customer within my organization, I need to know how much revenue I'm generating out of that customer internally. And we all go through that, whether it's internal function or external function. Translation of these languages is very important. From invoicing language, because invoicing language also used for my suppliers, also used for my internal revenue processes, that is a CFO department. From invoicing languages, I need to retain that. How much ROI I'm going to get it, how much P&L I'm going to make out of that. And the retention language need to lead towards customer satisfaction. Again, it will come to a smart manufacturing towards the sustainability. So everything goes hand in hand. When we have customer satisfaction, the last 2 parameters are very, very important, because it runs in a cycle. When I have a customer satisfaction, it needs to lead towards a customer delight. Customer satisfaction is maybe old 1980s, 1990s terminology. Now in 2020, we talk about customer delight, going one step ahead, not just from the customer satisfaction, but understanding whether it's the solution that we are implementing is helping and addressing customer needs. And it's delighting the customer. We are going above and beyond our usual regular process change. And customer delight lead towards getting the money from my stakeholders, investing in my skills in terms of my processes, skill in terms of my manpower, skill in terms of my technology. All these leads towards leads towards getting smarter in my process chain, in making my revenue, in making my um, factory going towards the next step. With that, I'll go to the next slide. We will reserve some question and answer towards the towards some next processes. Now, thought of process integration. When we talk about process, in earlier slide we saw this, how we enable some of the technology parameters. What are the component of that? A smart manufacturing processes. When I manufacture something, my suppliers are equally important for me. And how do I maintain my supply chain excellence? To maintain my supply chain excellence, gone are the days when we used to maintain, the supply chain heads used to maintain their activities in Excel, used to monitor into the system, when am I going to get which shipment and etc. It's for example, if we talk about e-invoicing projects, which is the government of India's initiatives, these are all going to help us towards supply chain, bringing the excellence in that and making sure my production line never stops. And I make sure, being a tier 1, tier 2 suppliers, my OEM's production line never stops. With that said, bringing automation, customization, value proposition analysis in my own manufacturing line. And now there is very ancient math that automation reduces the head count, kind of. It may be a throughput, I don't deny about that, but automation can help us make our environment safe, because for manufacturing organization, safety is most important and critical parameter. For example, if I have a foam line, foam in the sense, if I make a foam for my car seats, the foam furnace, foam liquid, foam chain, over there the temperature is rocket high. That's 2000 degree Fahrenheit and kind of, while baking that foam. I cannot have a human manpower associated over there. I need to make sure the robots are deployed so that my manufacturing happens smoothly and I do not attract any human life risk over there. And we have done that in our own organizations, and as well as what I have seen is OEMs, which are like Tata's, like Nissan, MG Hector. Those have deployed the robotic mechanisms. They have deployed customization in their shop floor lines, making sure that they value the human life and safety parameters are valued over there, which has essentially helped them earn revenue overall in their process chain, gaining the trust of their stakeholders, enhancing the also get checked when there is a automation enabled, robots enabled, and it all lead towards enabling the technology parameters. Why we have to enable all this? To gather the data, make sure my integration happens with collaboration. Collaboration is not just limited to information technology department. AME plays a AME, that is manufacturing engineering team, maintenance team, plays a very vital, important role in collaboration services. Because if I have a predictive maintenance, the maintenance team need to get those alerts, need to make sure that maintenance happens on time and we avoid the usual downtime scenarios while the manufacturing line is up and running. And that's the reason data gathering on from each and every segment. For example, in the earlier slide, we talk about the WIP scenarios, that is work in progress, activities and parameters, gathering the data from each station, compiling that data, making it one single thread of sequence, and collaboration and chopping into the each respective department to give them the necessary input and making a chain of events using that data, avoiding my downtime of the production line is equally important for me. And that's why enabling the technology in between them is most important. Drafting the policy, drafting the dependency matrix, collaborating with every department in my manufacturing line is most important. And in all this, final throughput, that is thinking big. What do I want to achieve? In our earlier slide, we asked all those W questions. W questions lead towards our gathering of the information and keeping that final goal in front of us, making sure we gather those throughputs, making them into a categorically enabled information. I'm going to the next slide. After process integration, plan a long-term strategy with the objectives. Objectives can be, and which is my most favorite one, and this is what I have stick my guns always, is converting a cost center to a profit center. This is very, very important. And as I mentioned in my earlier slide, there are few departments in a manufacturing line which are always looked upon as a service department. But how to translate that service department thought process into a profit center thought process? For example, some of the changes which I enabled in my earlier organization, earlier stints, is chargeback. With our ticketing mechanisms, when we deploy a ticketing mechanism in our organization, like ITSM, any ITSM tool that you deploy, ServiceNow or any other. I'm not trying to advocate for a typical, any ITSM tool. It can be anything. But what do we do with that ticket? Do we just simply resolve that ticket? What is the processes that are enabled with it? Very important parameter in that is first time right. What is the ratio of my first time right? Because that will help me getting my internal customer delight. And that attitude get translated towards my external customer delight. Now, when we talk about converting my cost center to profit center, do I charge for that ticket to make my cost center into a profit center kind of analogy? Because every minute's effort from my IT department is costing me as a IT department head to me. So am I getting the necessary benefit out of it to my entire department? Am I showing it as a profit, or am I showing it as a burden to the organization? It can be a food for thought at the moment for many of us. But I'll tell you that I have enabled these conversions from cost center to profit center in at least for 4 organizations in my last 20 years of career. And I have that positive, mindset thought process, which has enabled the the customer's thought process that yes, there is a logic behind charging for that, whether it's 1 minute job or whether it's 10-minute job. Now with that, I'm going to go towards ecological dependencies. When we talk about ecological dependencies, driving forward with ecological dependencies is very important. In our first slide, we spoke about sustainable solutions. Now, sustainable solutions can be from your own shop, or from your suppliers, from your OEMs. But do we find out what's economically viable solution? Because economically, for example, when we talk about robotic solutions, right? Is my supplier who makes nuts and bolts for me, gives me about 100 packets per day, makes a decent amount of money, can he enable robots? Or should he enable robots to make those, or shall I push him to enable robots? For my boiler making mechanisms, for my the liquids which I buy for my foam lines, which of these supplies can be automated? Their supplies can be automated. When I talk about enabling the GPS on my trucks, is this economically viable solution for me? Or am I within the 10-kilometer driving distance? I don't need any GPS enabled. It's a trust, because my truck is going to go out of my dispatch and it's going to go to the OEM. I don't need any other solution for that. This is because every solution that we deploy have a investment associated with it, have dependency associated with it, have a supply chain, and as well as a maintenance cycle associated with it. So think over this during your W questions, which we spoke about in first slide, and then come back. Now I'm going to shift towards towards the left, that is orange side of the first quadrangle, that is towards the transition. When we talk about IT department, we only speak about cloud, we speak about data analytics, we speak about moving towards from physical to virtual, virtual to cloud, integration of the cloud services towards the data analytics. However, with all this, having the first and foremost thought process in our mind is final goal. What do I want to do? By reducing my physical footprint and virtualizing and deploying the virtual solutions, am I reducing my cost of ownership? Am I reducing my operational cost? Am I enabling those cost benefit to my organization? Or is it, what is the thought process behind that? Is it going to be only the cost saving parameter, which is a very wrong parameter, by the way? In my view, cost saving cannot be a parameter for the organization. For an organization, that data which is there in my systems, what do I do with that data? Should be the first question to be answered. In that process, transition of physical to virtual, virtual to cloud is just a process. That doesn't save much money. It only reduces my cost of ownership. For example, if I have 20 servers in my own server room, and I translate that server room to a virtual internal private cloud, do I really save money in that? Maybe some, maybe 10%, 20% off. But by translating that data analytics I may save more. I may enable more services to the organization. I may enable more dashboards. I may create more ecologically dependent solutions. And that will eventually help with my objective of turning my cost center, organizational cost center, into a profit center kind of for my own department. Of course, this all is a value proposition that we bring to the organization in a long-term strategy with very, very short steps that I can enable to the organization. With that, I'm going to go to the next slide, please, which is skill matrix. Typically, we saw in the first slide about what's a skill all about. It's not the essential component, but it's a necessity component. And we spoke about various department collaboration of those department. We spoke about AME, that is advanced manufacturing engineering. We saw we saw how maintenance team can work. However, the most important team in all this is other functions also equally value and contribute to it. That is from the HR department, the safety department, the operations department, and the entire chain of events in the industry collaboration, from manufacturing to supply chain to marketing, sales, and the end users, which are actually the users for my services. So, gone are the days when IT department used to just take the order, enable the services, and move on. No, it starts from IT department. The IT department is a major stakeholder in your product value chain, because IT department can evaluate a solution, understand the solution, can suggest how much manpower is required for that solution, what are the safety parameters that we need to enable for that solution, and can guide to operations team that how a process can be enabled for that solution. It's a collaboration of services, inter-factory dependencies, and external with suppliers. I have seen some of the bidding processes also involve IT department, because when IT department is involved in a bidding, it can reduce the cost of the product. And I have seen that few of the larger OEMs, for like Caterpillar, General Motors, they use IT department's inputs for their bidding processes. MG Hector, they have why could they keep their SUV price so low that they enable the market for about 12% odd in even in such a problematic situation around us. Because while preparing that BOM, that is bill of material, they involved every concerned department, including IT. And there is a case study available prepared by Boston's, which you can Google it and you can check that case study, how IT department enabled cost of that BOM for a complete car in MG Hector by 12% odd, and they could reduce the cost of complete car, which enabled their self processes. How did it happen? It didn't happen overnight. It took longer time for their strategies, which again, in our first slide, we ask about those W questions. And over here in this slide, we have all these U parameters. That is you, not me and me, but it's you. It's update, upgrade, upskill, uplift. All this 4 parameters are associated with operations, safety, IT, and HR. This proposition, I know I'm not talking about purely on smart manufacturing. I'm talking about enhancing our internal departmental processes. Smart manufacturing does not mean you change everything to robots. No. Smart manufacturing means whatever you are manufacturing, how you enable and automate those processes so that you reduce your cost of the product and you enhance your ROI. That's also one of the definition of smart manufacturing. And there are various definitions. You go to Bosch, their definition is different. You go to Bose, which is headphone manufacturing, their definition is probably different. But for me, for my organization, what's important, that definition you find out and enable those services right from yourself by asking those W questions, by uplifting yourself, upskilling internal audience, by upgrading your technology, by updating your all security parameters checks. With that, I'll go to the next slide. So when we talk about be local, serve global, I mean, there are, this slide probably I created a couple of years ago. This has no context to the India government initiatives, but I definitely want to see those local processes, local businesses going global. What are the parameters which will enable us to go global? Of course, agile. And agile is not just a methodology, but it's in our processes, being agile. Like what we have seen in last 3 months from January till today. Everybody of us have enabled agile mechanisms. We all used to have a physical meetings. Now we are on a virtual meeting. And we also accommodated ourselves into those thought processes that yes, when I'm doing a virtual meeting, I'm going to have some disturbances. I'm going to have flexibility, and I may need, the approach is going to be, needs to be agile. The steps to do earlier, maybe 10 steps. Now I can do it in 4 steps. That's agile parameter checks that I can enable. My supply chain innovations, we spoke about that earlier. Process is not just process education is most important than process implementation. Invest a time, energy in educating us about the processes. In all this, attitude of our internal team carries a more weightage and more, we have to emphasize on that. In last few months, we have also seen collaboration between the competitors directly. For example, for few cases, few OEMs which are directly in competition with each other, but they have enabled and shake hands, and then they are going to enable the services to achieve the end user result. Keeping all this in mind, we all need to make sure that our environment remains safe, remains cyber security enabled, right from my end user device to my servers, to my network, to my organization processes, whether it's my PLCs, which need to be monitored because those are my bread and butter of the organization. If my PLC is strong and security enabled, my shop floor is security enabled. And many a times, like what we have seen in Honda's case a few days ago, last month, when they were hit by a Trojan, which may be residing in their system for 12 months before hitting them in their shop floor chain. but they recover. That's the beauty of it. That ransomware, they could recover within a couple of weeks, and again their production supply chain started. We have to take the lesson learning out of that, and we have to make sure our we are cyber security enabled. Our policies, processes are strong. The one who hosted this invited us today to talk about it, maybe one of the player in that, and they can take those activities forward, help us understand it more. I'm going to go to the next slide, please, which is very important right now, and everybody is talking about it. Everybody is talking about the transformation, digitalization, enablement, education. That's what we have discussed in last all our earlier slides. But what's Industry 4.0? That is our smart manufacturing processes, is enabling our mass production mechanisms towards the digitally value add processes, and making sure our we are in a completely in tandem with our dynamic product manufacturing processes. We advance our human machine interfaces in our overall authentication. We enable the sensors for the data collections. We enable multi-level customer interaction, and we do the profiling for each segments that we have with us. We can talk about augmented reality. We can talk about wearable devices, and in our own scenario, we do use some of the very advanced tools to you from especially in our quality check and image-based solutions, which help us keep our product up to the mark in the quality processes. So all this addresses our dynamic plant configuration, readiness, dynamic component and material configurations, dynamic inventory management, which help me keep my most important bleeding point for any organization is keeping minimum inventory and managing my inventory up to the mark. That is 4 M's: machine, my material, my maintenance happens on time, and my manpower is utilized on correctly. This smart manufacturing processes is called Industry 4.0. This is 4th generation of the industry revolution. That is your digitization, integration of verticals and horizontals in a value proposition, your digital businesses, models and customer accesses, your digitization of products and offering those services to internal and external customers based on our data analytics with core capabilities, and enabling me you can talk about cloud services, you can talk about multi-level customer interactions, you can talk about customer profiling, you can talk about the tools, any tool which help me detect the problem statement ahead of time and help me generate and maintain my revenue proposition. With that said, I'm going to go to the next slide. That's what my most favorite one, which is be yourself. In all this, we talk about technology, we talk about manufacturing, we talk about IT companies, we talk about our job, we talk about what about our community? What keeps us alive? What keeps us going strong? Always is our family, it's our society, it's our community. And we owe a larger portion of our success to our community. Whichever the form you are, enabling your community service, enabling yourself towards the success of yourself and success of your community is most important thing. And for me, typically I'm involved into and I'm proud to be associated with one of our one of the best Jagruti school, and I'm associated with them last 15, 20 years odd. Not only just financial help, but allowing them to learn, to grow. And I'll be, I'm very proud of few of the candidates from that school that they entered into corporate. Some of them joined Cognizant as a company, some, and then Cummins as a company, State Bank of India. They have, directly got a job over there by education over in that school. Whenever you get a time, do go to that school. Do go to those links which I have mentioned in this. If you need any help, always keep your confidence high. Need any support from any of your leaders, please feel free to reach out. It's the correct time to be a social services enabled human being. And whichever your form, it's not just a financial, helping our parents, helping our society, helping our family to do a certain activity. Like I have seen by Cyber Fraud, this is also social service. And thank you for organizing these social service, the support to the community, enhancing, spreading the knowledge, word of mouth, and enabling ourselves to be more confident in our activities. One of the activity which I have seen few days ago, he took a yoga session. I think one from Pune itself, that leader took a yoga session along with Cyber Fraud, and I really like that, the way we make ourselves available to the society in this form. With that said, I know I concluded earlier than committed time, like 45 minutes. I concluded in 35 minutes or 34 minutes approximately. That's all from my side. If you have any questions, we can take our question and answer forward from here, and we can take those activities forward.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. It was a very insightful presentation. So, sir, before you address all our questions in respect of this particular topic, our audience would love to know more about you and love to hear more about you. So, therefore, I just want to ask few quick questions.
Sure.
Yeah. So then we can continue with the smart manufacturing.
Sure.
So we would like to know, what does your current role as a Asia Pacific IT leader means to you, and what helped you to achieve this current position?
So first thing, in my current organization, that is Adient, um, Adient manufactures automobile car seating, and we are a global organization. In that, I manage the Asia Pacific as a Asia Pacific IT leader. I'm accountable and responsible for wall-to-wall IT services for Asia Pacific region, which includes 8 countries. Of course, I have a strong team, and the success of the entire team is enabling me to be in this position right now. Um, what what do I do? I make sure my team is happy. I make sure my internal customers are provided and enabled with the right choice, right solution at the right time with the right price. That's the 4 R's which I usually use in any of my decision making processes. And one thing which helped me to be to achieve this is the first time right approach,
Okay.
and that's what I believe in.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, how does your average day look like?
My average day starts at morning 5:30, 6 o'clock, with of course right now taking the necessary calls, reviews from home, because I start my operations from Japan to Korea to Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, India, and then later on towards Europe and US. So usually it's morning 5 a.m. I start my day, and it runs till 10 p.m. Of course, I give essential time to myself, my family, my society, and as well as my first and second circle of the family. In all this, enabling, and I make myself available for my team wherever and whenever needed. I'm just a one phone call away for my team anytime, day or night. If my team requires my support, my manager requires my support to do certain thing, I'm always available. And one I try to keep my attitude correct by understanding the situation instead of putting oil into a situation or oil into a fire.
That's interesting, sir. You have been living a very healthy life as you
Thank you.
focus on your physical as well as mental health as well.
Thank you. I try to do that. That's very, very important for everyone, and
Everyone,
in
yeah.
everyone, not only just for myself, but my kid also, my parents also, my grandmother also. And I try to make sure my team also remains healthy, their work life balance maintained properly, and nobody uses bring or comes to the office with a bad attitude.
Right. Okay, sir, what is your vision for technologies in future and how are you going to beat those challenges?
So my vision for the technology, as we have seen in my couple of slides, my vision is very simple. Okay.
Converting your cost into profit
Yes.
center.
Convert, as long as a particular technology is helping me add value to the organization, add value to my manufacturing process, I'm ready for that technology. But there are certain technologies which we have to enable, not only just from the value proposition perspective, but also from customer delight perspective. And for that, I'm always ready for.
Okay. And how are you upgrading yourself to cope up with the changing cutting edge technologies?
Um, Upgradation is a very important, like you all must be doing, and learning is a continuous process. It never stops. um, when we started our career in probably 1999, we started I started the career at that time after graduation. It's a technical learning. Microsoft was in a peak boom, so did a Microsoft learning at that time, Microsoft certifications, Cisco certifications, novel network certification every time. And currently, as current as our Cisco advanced certifications, our VMware certifications, technical upgradation, technical education carries a very, very vital important um, importance in our career. If I keep myself technically enabled, I can tell my team a certain technology is important for us. um, I do understand every time I don't have to put hand in mud, but I should know what happens when somebody puts a hand in the mud. how a particular pot can be given a shape. I need to tell it to my team, and I need to provide that guidance to my team.
Okay, that's a very useful point that we can inculcate in our lives. So
Thank you.
what inspires you and what are your aspirations?
What inspires me, typically my family inspires me to do and grow. And my aspirations, as I said, as long as I'm enabling myself to value proposition to the society, to my organization, to my team, and I get that 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 boosts my spirit overall.
That's
That
interesting,
feedback.
sir.
Thank you.
Sir, would you like to put some lights on how your role has changed with this transformation of traditional manufacturing to smart manufacturing?
Absolutely. I mean, I started my career with kinetic engineering in Pune in 1999. We used to
Okay.
have an assembly line over there. Every nut and bolt, we used to do it with the tools with every station manpower. From that, currently we manufacture the car seats right now in my current organization, where robotic arms not only does many jobs, but also in one of my Japan plant, is my where my conveyor belts are connected with OEM, and my complete seat assembly after the quality check, a robot arm picks up my seat and puts in a OEM car directly. No manual intervention associated with it.
Okay.
And as well as the warehouse manufacturing systems, where everything is, and as well as in Thailand, we are enabling a complete car seat as a car seat passport. For example, in one single QR, I will have a complete bomb of my car components and the traceability associated with it. So in case of any quality parameter check, in case of any replacement recall, I have a complete car seat history
Okay.
associated in one single QR.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. So how the smart technologies have impacted the overall supply chain system? Like how the productivity has increased? Any use case you want to share from your experience?
Uh, I just mentioned it, that's a use case which I mentioned just now for my Japan and Thailand plants. By enabling the automation, not only from the supply chain, of course, supplies plays a very important and vital role in all this, because for taken a case of our government of India initiatives like GST, that has played a very vital role for every one of us, not only for our organization, but also for suppliers. They had to upgrade, uplift, and enable those automation or integration of services for their GST collection and other processes. The e-invoicing process. These are very vital case studies, use cases in front of us. We don't have to even name anything else, because the volume of e-invoicing speaks for itself.
Okay. And how do you prioritize which technology or product should go first on the flow?
For me, typically the one which helps me reduce cost of ownership for my product is first to go on my shop floor. Second one is towards the cyber security. So the one which enables security to my plant, because if I have a secure environment, my stakeholders trust gets and is more. If my stakeholders trust is more, I get more investment in my plant. And the chain of sequence and parameters starts from there. So to answer your question in short, two parameters I mentioned. One, which enables my shop floor. Second one is a security.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, how easy is to convince senior management for funding?
Okay, so for that, I'm going to go to the good question, very good question. I'm going to go to the first slide, which we used, translation of the language. Translate your technical language into business language. If you do not do that, it's very difficult.
Okay.
How to do that is up to every individual, but there are coaching classes for that. There are case studies for that. How to translate yourself from, I'm a technocrat. I've been in technology last 23 years, but I won't be able to convey or convince my senior management if I use technical jargons. And in last 45 minutes on during my presentation also, you may have observed I use hardly any technical jargons
Yeah.
because that's not useful when it comes to business. When it comes to business, ROI, P&L, those are going to be useful. Translate your technical language to business language. Okay.
Okay. Sir, is the threat landscape increased with the smart technologies?
Yes,
How
it
is
does.
your
Yeah,
okay?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm going quick on your question. Complete your question, please. Thank you.
Yeah, and how is your partnership with the CISOs and CRO?
So, um, growing technology definitely grows our threats and cybersecurity issues, because as we enable our the tablets on our shop floor, we enable smart devices which collect the data from my PLCs on the shop floor. If I don't have a strong cyber security enabled, those devices can pull, or somebody can intrude in those devices. They can intrude into the PLCs, which is a backbone of my manufacturing. And if we do the study of Honda case few days ago, what happened? Um, those when they enabled some of their smart devices in their shop floor, the Trojans got into their from their smart devices into their PLCs, into their backbone assembly areas, and they reside over there for almost 14 months before triggering it. We have one more case study which is related to a Israel oiling mine, and as well as from Gulf countries, one of their oil mill, which caused valve blockage directly on their chain, and it resided over there for 7 months. Those case studies are available on the net to study. So securing ourselves is what very most important. Yes, technology do lead towards some cyber threats, but ahead, anticipating those cyber threats is our pro IT department's first and foremost important feature.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Sir, how do you build your trust with new startups compared to the already established ones?
Okay. I may not be the right person because I have not worked with startups.
Okay.
However, I did, like what we have the session today. I have had the knowledge sharing sessions with startups, and only a few, if I may, I allowed to give advices over there to any startup is like one of the startup which I worked with closely, and they used to take my advice for their proposition, value add proposition is from those is a food chain, and I don't want to take the name because that name is can create in any direction. But what I have told them in my one of the session is cater to small, build that trust, and then think of going big. And that they learn from their some of the mistakes, and then enable their services to be to on a growth path again.
Yeah, startups do face a lot of problems initially, but if they believe in the idea, and if they can eventually make the investors and others believe in them, then they can carry forward their goals.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, so sir, we have one question put forth by one of the participants, Mahesh Kumawat. He's asking, uh, please confirm about manufacturing GRC governance regulations and risk and compliance. How can we take care cyber security in this approach?
So first thing is you need to be cyber security enabled. I'm pretty sure when he's talking about the government governance of it, you will have to, if you don't have an internal legal department associated with it, then you will have to take the services from organizations like Boston's or ENY or Deloitte and etc. I'm not marketing them, but these are the firms which can provide legal guidance in conjunction to the gazettes which are passed by government, and those are important gazettes to follow, because we all need to survive along with law of the land, and we have to respect the law of the land. Now, if we talk about the cyber security, cyber threats, and one of the question which you the host also asked about the cyber security, it's a vital component. Cyber security is a vital component. We cannot ignore it. And that's the reason two components that I mentioned earlier. One is the cyber security, another one is the reducing my or enhancing my productivity. So investing on cyber security is equally important. I don't know whether I answered the question precisely on it, but the question is very at a very high level. My answer, I kept it at a high level.
Okay, thank you, sir. I believe it answers Mahesh Kumawat's question. If anybody have any questions, they can raise their hands. So I can unmute you and you can put your questions directly. Okay, there's one more question from Mahesh itself. FISMA is compliance we need to follow?
FISMA is compliance. Do we need to follow? Again, I cannot talk about your particular organization because I do not know what's the background that you are referring to. But yes, for certain organization, FISMA will require to be followed. Again, what are the parameters in that you need to follow? For example, if we talk about healthcare, they will have to follow HIPAA guidance. They will have to follow certain other guidance. For example, if we talk about finance organizations, especially dealing with US funding resource panels, they will have to follow SOX compliances. Similar to that, for certain organizations, certain rules are applicable, certain laws are applicable. It's an evaluation that will be required at the local level.